Cool, 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 cool. Innovations. Yeah, I'm very curious to see how INnoVation is doing. In the bottom left of World Sleepers, it is Rogue. In the top right, as the Blue Terran, it is INnoVation. Crazy. He's crazy. Here's the tweet. I don't know. I got mine off Discord. Sorry. Oh, the whole waking up at 4 a.m. thing is starting to hit me. Oh, God. You might be like, well, you should really try and stay awake, because if you go to sleep, and of course you're gonna wake up at 4 a.m. Guys, I've been going to sleep at like 11 p.m. or midnight and still waking up at 4 or 5. It's just what my body wants to do right now. I'm making the most out of it, though. Cast the Aleem League earlier today. Swept in hero mode for covering the final 3 games as well. Well, final 2 games. No, final 3 games, actually. Because Maynard's internet crapped out. It's good now, though. He's streaming literally right now. Probably host him up afterwards. Anyways, for those of you who do not know what these replays are from, or what this means, or you're just generally a confused person and you feel helpless and lost in the world, I'm here for you. To a degree. Don't get clingy. I am casting some IEM replays. Now, IEM, Katowice, is happening in under a month at this point. It will be, after this one, the World Championship in place of the BlizzCon WCS Global Championships. WCS no longer a system. They don't care about it anymore. As of right now, as of this year, because it'd be very awkward to have a World Championship 3 months after with no points or anything. It's just a part of the stop. But it's still a humongous tournament. 6 days of playing, a full week's worth of StarCraft. And the qualifiers here got what? Let's see here. 2, 4, 6, 7. I think it was something like 7 qualified players, because Korea had 2 server qualifiers, but it was like 2 qualified and 1 qualified. I think I did the math right. I'm not 100% sure. But anyways, now this means that they actually get everything, like accommodation, flight, all that good stuff. They're already seated as well, which is really, really great, into IEM. They don't have to play the extra like 2 or 3 days. But if they don't win, and I'm not sure, I don't actually remember who did win. This is not the finals. This is not the bracket finals or anything like that. This is like a random replay. They can go to IEM to try and qualify. So that's what Rogue INnoVation are trying to do on the Korean server here. It's just a server-based qualifier, so they didn't have to be Korean to actually try out here, although most who did are Korean. So that's the sum. We finally get into the juicy parts of the build. Let's talk a little bit more about that. INnoVation did do one of the greediest builds you can do, which is that 3rd CC after factory. And looks like even before any Hellions were made, so really quite greedy. And then even adding on that starport, eventually, right? So I'm curious what INnoVation has to offer, since we've been in that kind of off season. A lot of pros do take the time to either reset mentally, go on vacation, just to chillax, or hide all the strats and come out of the gate strong with a style and skill that maybe you didn't expect over the 3 months. So sometimes they play an online tournament, sometimes they don't. But otherwise, we haven't really had a huge tournament since Home Stray Cup, which was always a kind of weird one, because it's a testing ground for the new balance patch. So it's always like, is that truly reflective of what we're going to see at the first big tournament of the year, which is IEM Qualifiers? Maybe, maybe not. But I'm a big INnoVation fan. Unfortunately, he did not have the best 2019. Lots of falling off, basically. Some people would argue, oh, there was, balance involved, and I certainly would argue that INnoVation just simply wasn't performing up to par. But I'm still a big fan of his. I mean, his style is just so close to mine, I can't help but be a fan of him, right? Sometimes I watch players that are super micro-oriented and cheesy, and I'm like, okay, no, I enjoy that too. But I also sometimes just feel kindred spirits, because I'm not a cheeser player. INnoVation does seem to be a fan of battle cruisers, though. 3cc into Fusion Core, with the 3rd CC being just lifted on over. Hella greedy. Look at this not wall. Look at it. Look how not wall it is. 3 and 2 qualified in Korean quals, I think. That doesn't sound right to me, but you might be right. I mean, you could just literally double check. Is DreamHack $20 worth the cost of traveling to? DreamHack Austin is was always amazing. I don't know about Dallas. I gotta assume it's pretty fun though. So not only are there like, oh my god, this is so incredibly greedy. Okay, so the Hellions gonna try and get in here. The Lings are barbecued, not quite getting that surround to hold them in place for the Queens to do all that damage, but the Queens will eventually take this out with too much damage, direct damage anyways, also lost mining time I suppose, but the reason I was like, oh my god, this is so greedy, because not only does he not have a wall because the 3rd CC on the high ground and he takes the 3rd CC on location, but it's not like he was building Hellions like constantly. So to sacrifice 6, even if he was building like literally constantly, I think there was like a bit of a gap. To sacrifice 6 Hellions for a run by is just, oh my good god, it's so risky. But INnoVation liked what he saw, decided to go for it. Now Rogue, with you know, not too much intel, but still enough, got the 3rd CC sighting earlier on, is also doing kind of his thing. So I'm talking about INnoVation being greedy and how powerful his macro is going to be. Rogue, you can say the same thing for him. Rogue might be generally known more as a type of weirder player, a little bit cheesy and maybe a little abusey, if that's a word, right? But let's not forget that he is also some of the best late game Zerg possible. He kind of would flip-flop between being super cheesy and super all-in-y. Nope, take that back. Super cheesy and super macro, my bad. Sleep's getting to me, man. Battlecruiser does appear, but I mean, it's not that it's late, it's just the pacing of this game. It feels late because they both were pretty damn greedy, so there's, you know, a couple Queens to hold on. Spore Crawler does a great position. It's the second one of the main base. Queens are already here, though, with transfuses. That Battlecruiser is not going to do very much. It barely even really gets scouting. Meanwhile, the Hellions were not back at home, not in position anyways. They're guarding the 3rd base, not the natural, so 2 tanks go down to a handful of Lings. Always a worthwhile trade there. Tanks, slow produce, tech lab production, as well as that gas versus only minerals. That was a really great pickoff there for Rogue. It would have been so much better if he had like a Roach follow-up coming, but I mean, he does not. He's still droning. He's still dealing with the battlecruiser, and he's putting a lot more emphasis on the macro and then also that Spire right now. So Roaches could be made, but they obviously weren't. So grabbing the tanks is still good news. They both are still super macro mode, and it's definitely not over yet. This isn't the first time I've seen fast blue flame for what I would consider like a game. Like, most people go for Roaches, right? As a response to this. Not many people go, well, not many people go Mutas, that's for sure, because battlecruisers are in the air. And not many people go for like Ling Baneling, or immediately into Swarm Hosts. And if they do, let's say they do go to immediately Swarm Hosts, right? Because that is an option. I would think you would want to scout it before investing so much into Blue Flame. But again, maybe that's just the greed of the build. Like, he can afford literally everything, so why not? Why not? And he certainly has seen a lot of Lings, so they will be more effective. No questioning that. Trying to take on the Queens doesn't work out too well. Creep spread's looking good on the top side, kind of okay here. Scan reveals the non-hive timing. Still not hive. Should be coming soon, though. Again, they are just fast-forwarding. They're pressing the fast-forward button on a TVZ. Missile turrets come down as he sees the Corruptors, he sees the Spire. He's got to prepare to defend his battlecruisers. Generally, you'd want to go into Cyclones. That seemed, at one point, to be deemed a necessity of going for battlecruisers into mech, is that you would have to immediately go into Cyclones with the upgrade for them as well. It doesn't really seem to be the case anymore. Not only do we have, again, supercharged builds, this is going to be very different than other TVZs you'll ever see. It's also that people seem to be figuring out, like, oh, I can just invest in the missile turrets. You know, I can roughly guess how they're going to attack into me. I can give them only one path of attacking, and then you have missile turrets covering my battlecruisers. In this case, INnoVation even adds on Thors. And I think we have, as a community, slowly realized that Thors are actually just, they're just heckin' good. Only 3 battlecruisers. He did get Yamato, but he is stalled on the production. 3 battlecruisers is a pretty good number anyways. It's like 1 or 3, it seems like. Overlord scouts a on-location 5th base as the units scout the 4th base being put on location. So double expanding, but on World of Sleepers, that makes sense. World of Sleepers is a very large map. You got this high ground base you can take. You can even take it as your 3rd if you wanted. Some Protosses do that. but pretty centralized, especially if you can get to a decent army supply. On the flip side, you're kind of deterred from ever trying bio as a Terran player. Many people just, you know, just kind of give up on bio for World of Sleepers, but some people still try it. Going for a big turtle mech game feels a little more appropriate. Also feels a little more innovation-y. INnoVation was big into the mech when it was the thing to do. When Cyclones were the thing to do, he did a lot of that. Can absolutely play bio, but I think at heart he might be a mech boy, especially because it comes to Brood War. A lot of upgrades on the way for Rogue, but his army is still lair-based. Oh. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Sick. Come on, let us see you survived. Yeah, lots of upgrades on the way for Rogue, but not a hive. Finally starts a hive. That feels awfully late. I guess he was expecting this to maybe do a bit more, like actually have an opportunity to do something. That is a complete lie. That I don't... I'm surprised he thought he could do something with his lair-based army. The fact that his lings are getting anything at all is actually just a bit of luck, I feel. Otherwise, Roach, Ravager, Corruptor, Swell at 10:30 in a game with fast 4 and fast 5 CC. I don't know. He certainly didn't find anything. Lots of static defense. We're watching a seriously turtle Terran right now. And shockingly, the only thing doing damage are Ling run-bys, which is usually not what you think of when you think of mech. Dying to Ling run-by is not usually what happens. Hive is going to finish up, and he could start that Greater Spire pretty quickly afterwards. I mean, that upgrade's still got a ways to go, but this is clearly not a game where INnoVation's going to push anytime soon. He has his 2-2, he has maxed out, and he still doesn't push. If you're not going to push the 2-2 max out, when are you going to push? I'm not sure. Maybe when he scans the Hive being done for like the closest pre-Broodlord timing possible, but I actually think INnoVation might be playing that style that I think infuriates most people, no matter what matchup you play against mech with. If you have played against a Turtle Terran, you know it's infuriating. They are basically welcoming you to take a bad fight, and then a second bad fight, and a third bad fight, and a fourth bad fight, while they all defend. And on a map like World of Sleepers, where they easy get 5 bases and a 6th isn't really that far out of reach, they can go ahead and do that a lot. It's really annoying. Eventually, someone has to break those. Someone has to push. Rogue could also be like, well, you know, F you, I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to take the map, take the bases, mine out the bases, have all the minerals and gas, and you're going to have one good push. Well, probably more than one, because they're both going to bank a lot here. But you're going to have less pushes than I will. Because, yeah, Rogue is... I just said it, like, Rogue is also this, like, supreme... Like, at one point or another, he was the late-game Zerg. At some other points, he was the aggressive Zerg. But I remember the first time he actually started getting good, like, 2.5 years ago, casting him in the Ballistics Brawl, when he was still, like, you know, good, but, like, you know, not super great. That was the year he won BlizzCon as well. It was a really, like, upwards trajectory. I remember that he was the super late game guy. This could be a long one, guys. It's gonna be a super long one. Now we have starports on the way, so eventually we'll see the ship weapon upgrades. 3 on the way for Rogue. Look at all of that red. Damn. Yeah, there's nothing to clean up the creep. Mech, you know, cares a little bit less about creep. If you're playing a more aggressive mech, and I by aggressive, I mean literally you push it at any point, then creep is still a big deal because they'll see your Hellion run-bys, and they'll see your army positioning, and it's you know, still annoying. But if you're playing this style of mech, I don't actually think you really care, as long as it's not covering your bases. Yeah, you just slowly move forward. We're going to tackle this with Baneling Ravager, and it's like, that's so 8 minutes. Okay, this is 14 minutes, man. Get up to speed. Not that if you caught him like on siege and out of a concave, it couldn't do well, but this is like, yeah, okay. Yeah. So yikes, man. Rogue's not gonna find any success there. He's probably also pretty hesitant to go right into Broodlords because Thors are damn good. And INnoVation's going to be kind of anticipating that. He's going to get enough tanks to cover his bases with some clever positioning and some clever SimCity. And then he's probably going to just fill with Thors, because that is definitely the best move. The ultimate late game comps here. So grab his Battlecruiser. Is not Battlecruisers, although some people might say that it is. but rather a couple tanks, lots of Thors, and a decent number of Liberators. If you're someone cool, if you have style points, if you want to get style points anyways, you can go into Ghosts, but I think there could be some arguments for sure that Mech Terran super late game is a little strong and Ghosts are a little unnecessary. Now keep in mind that Liberator range has been nerfed by 1 range, so it's not as effective, but Neural Parasite was also nerfed. So we still have a dynamic that technically goes in favor of the Terran, I feel. Crashing through here might turn out okay. This was one of the weaker spots, I suppose, but like, I mean, this is... How many Banelings? We're ended up being kind of 4 tanks, 5 tanks? Oh, yeah. Building armor now on the way. Anyways. Corruptor, Broodlord, Infestor, Neural Parasite, whatever else you want to add in there, I guess, is dealer's choice. That's your typical super late game, quote-unquote, perfect composition. Oh, and Spore Crawlers on the ground, of course. For INnoVation, it is what I just said, with including those Liberators, and I actually think the mech does very, very well. The tricky part is not being blindsided. The Zerg army is going to be more mobile, even with Broodlords. That's just how slow the mech army is going to be, and it has to position, it has to siege. So you can't, you know, be sieging your Liberators as the army collapses in on you. That's going to be a bad time. But if you're very slow and patient, then I think you should win. Found a couple Thors. Once again, Banelings taking what you would say is very inefficient trades, but who the flip cares? They are trading somewhat, but after accruing a huge bank and grabbing all the bases, INnoVation actually grabbed this one first and protected it, and now going to this one. 12 Broodlords are now on the way for Rogue. He has +3 melee, he has +3 projectiles. He's working now on his Carapace for his Broodlords. But those Broodlords, they are going to hit something fierce. But the Thors kind of ditto, feeling confident, feeling cocky with their +3 armor. And all that range they now have. And their micro ability they now have. And the lack of micro ability from the Nidus, or damn it, stupid Nidus from the Broodlords. And Nidus is on the way, and I know Rogue's one of those guys that was a little more ahead of the curve on trying to actually break Turtle Terrans or Turtle Protoss with something a little more unique than just like me make Broodlord. But sometimes again, look, not very useful. Me make Broodlord, me win actually might just win right now. The Baneling's getting a surprising amount of damage as the deck army was super clumped up. No Hellbats on the front line either. In fact, no Hellbat attempt at all. Now that's exactly what the Banelings are like really useful for, is dealing with the Hellbats. The Hellbats are gone, the Thors can't tackle all those Broodlords. Boom, that's, you know, that's a great engagement. But you usually try to put Broodlords, or damn it, I'm so tired. You usually try and put Hellbats somewhere. Not even attempts, but being just surrounded like that, being a big old clump of mech was already a bad start. It's a concave, it is so different. INnoVation notices a weakness as he maxes out once again because they got bank. There are no Corruptors, there's no Queens, there's no Vipers, there's not even any Infestors for an attempt at mass Fungals, chain Fungals. So the Vikings pop out, 3 starports. They never actually made any Liberators, which is, I think, a mistake, but they certainly do well making those Vikings. 5, 6 Corruptors come in. Thor's gonna try and help out. Hellbats are finally here, but Banelings have once again been morphed. Who is gonna go in favor for? The Banelings roll past into the Thors to take them out of the equation, figuring he'll win against the Vikings. He's kind of wrong about that, though. More Vikings come in, the Defender's advantage, and just the sheer amount of bank they both have working in favor right now for Rogue. Shit for INnoVation. I'm really tired. I should have stuck to laddering, guys. And that actually worked. The Viking transition actually worked. You know how flippin' rare that is? And you know how flippin' rare 10 Ultra transition against mech is? What is happening? Nidus Swarm's being cleaned up without having ever done very much. This one might be a little more potent because it might actually have Ultras in it. They're popping around the same time it's popping. They already got chitinous plating. They're working... Oh, that was so close. They're working on their speed. INnoVation is actually kind of late, I think, to the ship weapons. Only +2 finishing now. It is on the way. These are 3 regional Glanlings. They're going to rip through everything. They don't need any help from Ultras. They're independent lings. Still no Liberators, and I'm still a little shocked by that, because it's not even that you have to get like 7 or 8 Liberators. You don't have to get 10, you don't have to get 15. It's more like even 3 or 4, add another layer that is just so annoying to deal with, no matter what race you are. Banelings crash into a planetary. They don't give a what. Ultras clean out the tanks with nothing to protect them from being pounced upon. INnoVation splits his army, some to defend. No, it's the Vikings. No, don't hot cinematics this. Don't do it. It's gonna be a bad time, man. Okay, he's not gonna do it. But Thor's over to the bottom side. They're gonna be potentially countered by just sheer numbers of Lings and Banelings. You wouldn't think they would be. But that might be what's happening right now. INnoVation losing to the basic armies. Good God. INnoVation at least has been trying to take out bases. He took down the bottom right at one point. He took down the bottom, top left at one point. Didn't actually kill them, I guess, but he took down the mining for a while. But yeah, not killing them. Rogue just cleans up whatever it was, puts his workers all back in there. Still has a big old bank. Check the resources lost. It is surprisingly close, but there's a lot because INnoVation has been losing the game for the last 2 minutes. And he has been losing that mech army, which is very expensive, even though Rogue's been losing all these Baneling armies, which is just so grossly expensive. 13 infestors on the way. Neural Parasite was researched a hell of a long time ago. You go for Neural Parasites on many things, actually. You can go on Neural Parasites on, like, every important unit. Neural Parasite, the tanks, and the Thors. I think that's possible for him. Most of this army is Hellbat Viking right now. Infestor goes down. Hellbats are getting cleaned up by the Banelings. This is the goal again, and so many Banelings are available. Rogue goes for a couple counters with the Lings. Lets his base die, lets his drones die. That kills most of INnoVation's economy. INnoVation, having taken so many SCV losses, is trying to replace them, and he still has a decent number of command centers, but there's so many that are not mining. They're being creeped up immediately after lifting. Rogue doing a great job not letting INnoVation breathe. But how is this fight going to go down? INnoVation's max. He's got good upgrades. Now working on that +3 ship weapons, but I think he's okay at +2. I like seeing the Liberators as well. In fact, it's quite a necessity. Not just to help out against the Ultras, but also against those Infestors. How is it going to work out here? They do not go down. No scan. The scan's a bit late, and the army simply evacuates as well. The Liberators hardly helped at all. Tanks on the backside are going to be able to hold. Most of the Thors do survive, but the Liberators die. That wouldn't be such a bad thing if INnoVation was still mining from every single base. Unfortunately, he is not, so he is quite low on the gas. But you know what? Kind of ditto for Rogue. Both of them just losing super expensive armies, but Rogue just a little bit more expensive. And there are times when he's just not mining. He's being denied mining even though he's not losing a lot of drones. He isn't mining his gas over here. Just a simple mistake. Over here probably took too long to recover there. Like, 23 minutes, you gotta imagine they would have lower gas tanks trading out like they have been. Eventually World of Sleepers has to dry up on gas, as I think their first 3 bases have dried up, if not all, their first 4 or 5. It's running out of gas. Oh, the unsiege at the exact wrong time. A single Liberator help out here. Tanks do get the opportunity to siege up once again, but already the Ultras are on top of them. Neural Parasites as well. No opportunity to snipe those Infestors. Such good engagements coming here for Rogue. Those tanks on the high ground, though. Oh, those tanks on the high ground. Trying to focus on the Infestors. Lots of expensive gas units going down. This actually turned really, really bad for Rogue. Surprisingly bad for considering how the first 5 seconds of that went. I'm gonna rewind and look at that, because this is kind of a study session as well. Like, what went wrong right here? We're gonna slow motion it. Slow. Okay, so the tanks are on siege. The Ultras are already on top of so many. That's a great sign. I guess kind of what happens, this really weird thing happens where, like, when you lose half of your army, you usually lose, like, a crucial component entirely, right? You lose all your Hellbats, you lose all your tanks, you lose all your Thors, because they kind of stagger themselves in a way that makes sense. But I guess in this situation, it was like, yeah, this fight went bad, but he still has Hellbats, he still has Thors, he still has tanks. And now he has a choke. So that's why this went so much better. Bizarre. And the Neural Parasites eventually has to go away, but I think this is also INnoVation finally getting the opportunity to target fire. When before, the infestors were out of range of the tanks that were actually able to shoot. And then the reinforcements coming from the backside anyways. INnoVation wasn't even using the full might of his army for that attack. Rogue dipping down a lot in supply. He does have not even a Remax. He had a decent bank, but we're talking about hive tech units right now. That's not a Remax. So he uses all of his bank for 5 Ultras, 44 Lings, a handful of Banelings. Queen's still alive to try and help out somehow, some way. Corruptors go for the P on the planetary. If it's a full repair of the mules, I don't think it'll get it. A Thorn, a missile turret holding strong. Drones going down the left side alongside the hatchery. How is this game like this? I mean, I feel validated because I was kind of calling this late game mech army a little, let's just say a little good. But I feel like I shouldn't have been validated in this game. The stagger of the tanks is really nice too. Not only does it, you know, do the obvious thing, but it also means that Rogue might accidentally think there's not as many tanks as there are. Not that it mattered. He was pretty dead at the end there. GG. 25 minutes. I mean, the first 14 minutes of the game was nothing. Literally nothing was happening. But you know what? Actually, the last 10 minutes were kind of action-packed. So that was fun. Just took a little while. Alright, next map's going to be Nightshade. The top left, it is Rogue. And the bottom right, it is INnoVation. I made food, started making food, made food, ate food, all before that match was done. Makes sense, 25 minutes? I would hope so. It's either an awfully slow eater or you made something very complicated. And I made a vegan burger today. I made a Beyond burger, which are delicious. I'm never really, like, on board convincing not, like, naysayers of vegan products that, like, no, it's totally exactly like beef. Like, it's not. If you have, like, a really stupidly fancy burger that has a bunch of extra crap on it, then it's probably just as good. Because by that point, the hamburger is more about not the meat. But if you're just having, like, a good plain burger... Doesn't taste exactly like beef, but I actually truly think Beyond Burger is just plain delicious. Impossible Burger, not so much. Anyways, I made it, cooked it, fried it up in a pan, ate it. It was delicious, and my damn apartment smelled like pea protein, which is exactly what it's made out of, like the entire day. It was kind of crazy, just because you wouldn't expect to notice the smell of pea protein. That's the only thing I can attribute the smell to. So, you know, 4 out of 10 suggest opening windows when you make this stuff. Are you a vegan? No, but I like to eat less meat. The less meat I eat, the better I feel. For many different reasons. Anywho. Nightshade, a little less likely for such a game like last game. The 4th base already becomes a bigger issue. 3rd base, it's just kind of a granted because it's Legacy of the Void, and 3rd bases are kind of allowed. They're expected. 4th bases is where it gets a little clumsy. You know, you take this one, you have to like kind of loop around.
Resubscription
received. You do have a couple neat chokes to try and use, right, but still surroundable area. Where you take this as a 3rd, and that's really bold, and this is a 4th. Like either way, we take this as a 4th, you expand like horizontally, it's still pretty weird. I'm not saying that INnoVation can't do mech, I think World of Sleepers is the turtle mech map. And then maybe you try an Eternal Empire, but that also I think is... There's nothing that gets you the 3rd easily. Easy enough, I guess. 4th super easily, and 5th just like an obvious answer is yes to a 5th, like World of Sleepers. Thank you, Running of Dreams, for the 26-month resub. Man, now I made myself hungry talking about food. It's actually mostly most of my calories of the day, because I also ate a Asian medley veggie pack, which are goddamn delicious because they're covered in butter. So for tonight, I'm having cereal because it's healthy. Vegan meat substitutes are quite expensive where I live. Oh yeah, my mom bought them for me. I either just don't eat vegan substitute stuff, or tofu, which is very cheap if you have like any type of international store near you. It's like $1 each packet or less. Or I just, you know, go for like the super cheap meat, the marked off meat, because they're like, please buy it, it's gonna go rotten. And I'm like, yeah, that's a deal, I'll do it. Fusion Core, once again, INnoVation likes his battlecruisers, and I think he does like mech, so I'm actually leaning towards mech here. I know there are some maps that are just better for bio, or maybe more appropriately worse for mech, but I feel like there's a low-key sentiment amongst the community, amongst the players, amongst the maps, amongst me, that mech is in a slight way superior than bio. Not enough to make it so that everyone always does mech, because there's been periods where that happened, and oh man, it's so boring. Mech every game is just, ugh. You know, spice things up, right? But I think it's always been a little like, eh, it might be better. Kind of like LOL XD and someone trying to go bio. Anyways. Not hating on bio. I think it'd be great to see INnoVation's bio, but I don't know, man. I don't know, guys. No tech lab. Battlecruiser build. Oh my god, he supply blocks. Oh, what is a scrub? Figured he would have canceled the Hellions to get a battlecruiser ASAP, but nope. Just waited for second supply depot. Third to see it put down on location already. Once again, quite bold with this. The problem is that, I mean, it's not actually a problem to put a third TC down this fast. It's more so just that now you have to cover a third base from Ling run bys and a natural base. And you're kind of guessing which one they get send the Lings in. And in this case, he even kind of splits his Hellions, which is the right call. And it's like it's that far away from each other to respond. I would just feel super nervous. But INnoVation's a much better player than I am. It is mech, 2 factories, constant Hellion production, and Yamato, so I expected 3 battlecruisers once again. Lots of scouting being done. Whoa, okay. Huh. It's pretty quick to have a Knights from Swarmhost, so I don't think that was it. I guess just looking for little pockets of Lings, which is a very good move, but it was very thorough. I mean, usually you check for pockets of Lings. It's like, I checked there and I checked there. I'm good to go. He was like all over the map. And he missed them anyways. Although, granted, it's only 4. Oh, Hellions finding a couple queens. Very, very lonely. 3 more queens come forward to try and help out their sisters. Battlecruiser, oh, right on top. Very bold move here from INnoVation. This might actually work, though. The Hellions, they're so numerous. There's like 10 of them. They take on the Hellions. The queens trying to focus fire them down. More queens being made as well. It might just be enough of the Spore Coil's repositioning, but this is a lot of damage to take. Well, INnoVation behind this does have his third CC up and running, taking only minimal damage from those Lings. 9 drones go down, and more to come as the drones try to split. It's still going to be a bit more, a few more here and there. Maybe you're going to try going into the main or the natural, get some scouting. He's actually going to try and skedaddle, surprisingly enough. 13 drones go down, a couple queens go down. 3 queens, actually. It wasn't as bad as I thought. I thought it'd be more like 30 Lings, 20 drones, 4 queens type thing. But still pretty good. It was at the cost of 14 Hellions. But with mech, that's usually not a big problem. But taking any return damage makes it suddenly very not worth it. Lost mining time, an equal number of workers killed. Lings are good, man. They had super fast upgrades. Damn. That battlecruiser took forever to kill him. And that was, once again, INnoVation. Maybe just not respecting the run-by potential, because at last game, although it didn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, last game he lost 2 tanks to Ling run-bys as well. It's like he figures he'll have enough Hellions, and Rogue seems to be able to find the times when he doesn't have them, or they're not in position. Part of this build that INnoVation does include some pretty late armories. I put that in air quotes and tried to emphasize it. It's still double upgrades, so it's quite good. But there are definitely builds with faster double upgrades, or builds with really fast single upgrades that are pretty good. 16 mutas. You see the Spire, you kind of assume Corruptors. Especially if there's a Roach Warren alongside it. But you know what? There's actually no Roach Warren. I'm blind. I thought he made one over here. He did not. INnoVation does scout the mutas, builds missile turret, starts up Thors immediately. I try and go by the motto that if I see roaches, I'll build tanks. If I don't see roaches, I build Thors. Maybe INnoVation could learn a thing or two from me. Am I right, guys? Am I right? 3 battlecruisers are still decent enough against mutas. Like, there's a weird dynamic with mutas against any capital ship, right? Carrier, Tempest as well. Void Ray even kind of falls under this. Where, like, if you have enough mutas, they'll win out. They just won't do it very fast. So in this case, I think the battlecruisers would still win, especially because they'll have repair on their side. But that's not the point. You don't go after the battlecruisers. They're slow space cows. Not broodlords, but they're like their cousin, and they will struggle. So 3 tanks go down, a couple SCVs. Delay on INnoVation's macro as well as been banking minerals that only just now slaps down to 4th base. Rogue transitions into those corruptors. He's taking out the tanks, so if he goes into a corruptor roach attack, it might be good. But oh, getting the upgrades. Nicely done. So much for the double upgrades. Making up for the delay. And the mutas are even going to try and stack on top of it. No more ICs are being pulled here. +1's also not going to finish. Both upgrades taken down. Not just a loss of timing, but also a loss of some fairly expensive buildings. These mutas being a fantastic investment, and then the Lings here looking a little lonely. If these were alongside roaches, I think INnoVation just loses right here, right now, especially because he's not sieged up. But that is what Rogue is thinking about. He might have been a bit late to the Roach Warren, so he doesn't have speed. He doesn't have upgrades on them, but he will have the superior numbers. Does he actually have the superior composition? Well, that's the other question. I'm not sure. I feel like if the mutas come in and dive on top of these 2 tanks, I feel like he would. But he might not try it. 9 Ravagers are on the way, so it looks like he's not going to go for it. Infestation Pit, more upgrades. He starts +2 flyer weapons, so he's not going to attempt to go for a bust. Probably the smarter call. Now that we reevaluate here, more reinforcements have come in. Tanks are actually sieged. And everything has been repaired up as well. So on to the late game it is, but Rogue has certainly made up for the initial Hellions, actually. It's just Hellions debacle. Got that counter in. Got some serious damage to the mutas to make it worthwhile. Still has 9 to just bother here and there. And now it's going to take over the map just like last game. But as I was saying in the early parts of the game, just hypothesizing, Nightshade is not nearly as good for 4 bases, much less 5 for the Terran. To Turtle here. And there's no upgrades either. 1-1 could have been really helpful. Maybe not for this fight, as defensively he's fine, but for a fight that maybe exists more in the middle of the map. A fight that exists around this 4th base, which INnoVation desperately wants to take. He scans, sees slow banelings, feels pretty confident, goes for some Sim City, protection against the Corruptors, and looks like he will successfully grab a 4th. But on World of Sleepers, he was able to also grab a 5th at the exact same time. Not going to be really possible here. Once again, Rogue going for all the upgrades. It's always nice because like he aligns up the upgrades that are similarly colored. All of the unit upgrades,
resubscription
attack
received.
and carapace,
Apparently you are doing something right,
were all lined up
Captain.
in color. But even like the centrifugal hooks was kind of like purplish, pinkish, whatever. Thank you, Fear Dragon, for the 60 months. That's the longest you can possibly be subbed to my channel, guys. Isn't that impressive? Isn't that amazing? Double Nidus Worm on the way as Rogue continues to pressure outside. I don't think he's going to take the fight, but oh my god, he's going to take the fight. Oh my god, the Banelings roll in. Huge concave here from Rogue. Makes tanks just really unsuccessful. Rogue has such a good ability of looking at these types of armies and saying, yep, I'll win that. When I feel like everyone else is saying, maybe don't, he's like, maybe yes. And then he wins. Those upgrades cost in the game? I'm not sure they cost in the game. I actually don't think 1-1 would have saved him from that fight. Would have helped, you know, maybe closer. Maybe his reinforcements clean it up. But it was a pretty convincing fight. I didn't know it existed 60 months ago. Well, I started watching non-WCS content 51 months ago. That was confusing to me. I get what you're saying though. This yeah, it's kind of weird too because my stream has been partnered for 5 years apparently, but I didn't really stream consistently on it for 5 years. So, is it normal playing StarCraft to make you want to punch a hole through your monitor? Yeah, absolutely. No one else to blame but yourself. And blaming yourself is enraging. So now we're on Triton. All of these are map vetoes, so I don't know who chose what and who vetoed what. But I pointed out last game, at the beginning of the game, in the mid game, and I'll point it out again post game. Nightshade, not nearly as good of a map, I think. Not that War of Sleepers didn't also have the potential for a huge concave. He just had a much better start. He didn't lose SCVs. He didn't lose his upgrades. He didn't lose tanks here and there to mutas. So the concave wasn't as deadly on World of Sleepers, but that was a very, very good concave. On top of all the damage Rogue was able to do, INnoVation had an excellent start with those Hellions, just didn't have the follow-up Hellions. We follow up with the Marine once again, feeling the battlecruiser, feeling the mech. He likes it, he loves it, he wants to do it. INnoVation can do what he wants, because he's a baller. And most of the time, it nets him some money. I'm not going to say, he wins tournaments most of the time, because that hasn't been true for a while. This guy is crazy consistent, though. Across the years he's played StarCraft 2, he has won tournaments in like every year almost. Although I think 2019 was the exception. But he does win a lot of money. He does place. So if he wants to do what he wants to do, go ahead. I'm right there. This map looks so much like King Sedong Station. If you mean in terms of tile set, then it's like the exact same tile set. But in terms of its layout, it's like nothing. It's like nothing like King Sejong. I don't want to absolutely slap down your point, but apparently I'm gonna. I wish they'd bring back King Sedong Station. Yeah, I mean, obviously they could do a little bit tweaks in there to change the Liberator's complication spots or anything else that's kind of Legacy of the Void specific. But I don't know. It's like cool to have old maps back again for a little while, but it does feel very... Oh, what's the word I'm looking for? Gimmicky. That's what I'm looking for. It feels very gimmicky. Even if Blizzard was like, no, this is the map in the map pool for 3 months. You have to deal with it. Tournaments will happen on this. Like, you figure it out. I'd still feel like it feels gimmicky. But hold up here. Hold on. It is not a battlecruiser build. It is a Marauder build. A single Marine was made, just like the last games, but obviously setting that tech lab on the barracks, not transferring it over, no fusion core, Viking first. You don't see the Marauder. It looks a lot like a regular bio build. As soon as you start the... Excuse me. Marauder's slow. It kind of looks like it's just stim. And the Viking does usually come out with those the basic bitch bio builds. In this case, it's an excellent job of cleaning up the Overlord that does not see the Marauders, I'm fairly sure. Yeah, definitely not, because didn't even see the barracks. So this is Rogue anticipating battlecruisers, because that's what's happened. He was getting a Bailey Nest. He got a scout as much as he could, decided not to go with the Baneliness, but rather a Roach Warren. And I think that's bad, not because it's like, yeah, if you make enough units, you'll hold, whether it's a lot of Banelings and Lings or a lot of Roaches. It's more so that I think this denotes he won't make anything. I think this means that he's like, okay, it's a macro game again. Although it's not a third CC. Although he technically doesn't know that. Well, I think by the number of supply depots, you'd know that. So anyways, a couple of Roaches are on the way. Looks like he took care of the nothing. I thought he took care of something. I was wrong. The Viking just landed. More Roaches are now in the way as he realizes what's going on here. Helmet's in the front line. Marauders in that medevac. Viking gonna go for another kill here, and hopefully supply block Rogue doesn't quite. The INnoVation has a very powerful attack on the way. Rogue is coming out though in the nick of time perhaps. Good concave with the Queens as well, though not focus firing that medevac. Lots of free healing going down in these Hellbats. That one Hellbat lasting forever. Gonna last forever. Alright, finally died. But all the rest of the Hellbats not being healed, dying to the Queens, dying to the Roaches, the Marauders not actually doing what is usually, you know, the coolest thing about this, where they drop on top of Queens and stop them from microing. That didn't actually happen. Rogue was already kind of tucked into his corner when INnoVation was showing off what build it was. Good thing he figured it out with the medevac flying around with such a you know, it's kind of a popular way of mixing things up. And that really helped. It really did. The concave was there. No Queens were sniped prematurely. And it is really nice that he had Roaches as an option instead of just Lings. And that puts INnoVation in a dicey spot. You severely delay your third CC. You get extra Hellions, which delays, well, I was going to say barracks, but it's mech again, so it delays your factories just by a little bit. And you didn't end up actually doing that much damage, although... Hello! Medevac! Dropping off some Hellions for some serious damage. Roaches do block the entrance of the natural, though. So not too much damage done. It might... No, the Medevac's gone. No, not gonna get any perfect lineup shots. Overseer's gonna come in here and get the confirmation on mech. Spire is about to finish. It's not Battlecruiser follow-up, and thank goodness, because that would just die. But it's also not like an anti-air follow-up. No Cyclones yet. Well, you can't even make them. You can't make anything because his factories are just finishing. Mutas could do a lot of damage right now because even if INnoVation would immediately make Thors, which he might not do, they'd be 2 Thors, they'd be clunky, they'd be trying to cover 3 bases, and Rogue would be able to maybe even combat them, but just run around them. It is good enough. INnoVation, this guy places, am I right? Yes, that's what I was trying to say. This guy places. Were the mutas seen? Well, I think he scanned.
Command center up.
No, I think they're seen by the Hellions. Or maybe just... Well, I think they're seen by the Hellions because the Thor's only just started. Missert's only just not coming down. I'm going to guess that's what happened. This is a terrible start, though. To be placing everything down as the mutas are across the map is already a terrible sign. In fact, already kind of a game-ending sign, because there's also the opening that did not go very well. There's a tech choice from him. The surprise of Banshees would be brilliant against someone trying to max out on Roaches, but Rogue isn't that silly. He's not just going to make basic ground units, but rather switch things up, tech up here. And while Mutas didn't have to be his choice, he could have gone for a bunch of Roaches. Those Banshees could have ruined his day. Marauders actually getting dropped here are going to be kind of effective without stim. And Banshees are going to be forced to come back to try and deal with the Roaches as they end up being the main problem. Mutas are taken care of, or rather they were sent back home. They could kill those Banshees. Not going to though. The Roach on top of the Thors. One Banshee trying to help out so much for that. That's going to be it. GG. Rogue handles the more regular games. The Turtle Mech game got him, but he played that also very, very well. It was kind of surprising.